YouTube worked. Sweet. Facebook's good. All right. What's up, everyone? Welcome. It is 12 o'clock on a Tuesday. That means we are here with Build with the CEO. Today I have a guest, and he is going to be taking over today, so you don't have to listen to me rambling. My name is Trevor. I'm the CEO of Coach Catalyst, and this is the show where we help you build a better coaching business. So it is officially the beginning of August, which means we have a new theme. We just finished up our fall promotion, meaning the month of July was all about helping you get prepared for all the launches that are going to happen in the fall. We do still have the Supercoach CRM offer available if you need help with the marketing side of things, the sales side of things. If you're sick of duct taping 5 or 6 different softwares together, that's what Supercoach CRM is all about. That offer runs until Wednesday at midnight, and the link will be in the description. But today is a new month, and this month's theme is attention and attraction. So all month long, we're going to be helping you increase your reach. So how do you get what you do in front of more people? And then how do you move those people to interested in what you're doing? So they raise their hand, they make micro commitments, and ultimately get closer to becoming a client. So this month is going to be all about that. Every week, we're going to kind of expand on this theme. And today, Kane, the co-founder and COO of Coach Catalyst, is on here, and he is going to talk about the ideal client profile, right? That's probably the most accepted term, but there's lots of different names for this. Your ICP, your ideal client, your perfect client, your whatever, right? But we need to really define what that is. And this is the groundwork, and everything that you do within a business is, if I don't know who I'm talking to, you really don't have anything, right? You're just speaking into the universe, and you won't ever get any traction because you won't be solving any specific problems. And so really understanding that, and Kane's developed some really cool things. I know he's got some strategies that he's going to talk about today, and we got a really cool custom GPT that we'll be able to kind of pass along as well that will help you with this, because this is the most important thing for you to do. It doesn't matter what you know, right? It matters who you serve and making sure that you're solving the right problem. So I'm going to pass it off. Kane, take it away.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on today. It's going to be fun. Like Trevor said, this is attention and attraction month, right? It's all about trying to help you drive more business and draw more leads to your business. Um, and as Trevor said, we're going to talk about kind of target market, ideal client profile, like whatever you want to call it. I don't really care. We have some frameworks that we work through that have worked really, really well over the years for us. And we're kind of going to go through. But the biggest thing is figuring out who you want to work with, why you want to work with them, and then like how to actually reach them and actually like talk to them. And I think understanding the why this is so important is a big deal. So we will go over that as well. But and we're gonna have some tools too, right? Because everybody loves tools, everybody loves new things. We'll have some tools at the end that you can have access to and help you along this process create this stuff. So you're not just trying to do it on your own. Because I think this concept is known for people, right? I think they understand they need to have an ideal client profile. They need to be talking to somebody. They don't know how to do it all the time. And so I think anything that we can give you that's going to help that process is going to be obviously beneficial. But before we start, let's talk a little bit about like why this is so important. And you might have heard me talk about this in the past, but what we hear at Coach Callis a ton from coaches is I need more leads. I need more leads. I need more leads. I need more leads. Now, I think this is a short sighted view. I don't think most coaches actually need a ton more leads. They need to run a better customer journey. They need to have a better full service customer journey inside their business so that number one, they're attracting the right people. Number two, they're converting them. And number three, they're actually keeping them and retaining them for a long term. And I know coaches always say, no, retention isn't a problem, right? I'm a great coach. People stay with me forever. Let's be honest, they don't, right? A lot of coaches do have leaky backends. And you might have a couple clients that stay with you for a long, long time, but then you have a revolving door for other customers, and you're always trying to get more leads and more leads. And so this entire kind of customer journey that we talk about here at Coach Catalyst helps solve this problem. And we're going to focus on one particular part of it today, but I think it's always good and helpful to kind of revisit exactly what we believe as a company and how you should run a coaching business. And so we're all familiar with a sales funnel, right? Sales funnel, we want to dump leads in the top. We want people to come out the bottom as customers. That is an incomplete model, right? Our business is actually two sides. We have a sales side, what we call an acquisition side, and then we have a retention side. So how do we actually keep people long term and serve them? I know we've talked a lot about this a lot, front of the house, back of the house, we've called it. There's a lot of different names, but the concept is the same. The tricky part, though, is people don't just like fall on the top and fall out the bottom, right? People go on a journey, and that's always a linear left to right journey. And so when we look at this, I like to call this the bow tie effect, right? Does your business have this in place? Do you have an acquisition bow? Do you have an acquisition side where it is all about attention and attraction? Can you transition them from the sales side to the service side? How accessible is your business? Do you make that nice and easy and eliminate friction, empower and equip the customer, and also set expectations with them? And then how well do you retain them? How is your onboarding? Do you have both a timed and a trigger based onboarding? Do you have a win ask method set up so you're collecting testimonials? And do you have profit maximizers to help expansion? Like that's really looking at the entire system. And each section of here like has different things that we can go into in the future. But the first one that we're really talking about today is going to be this attention and attraction. That's what this month is all about, right? We're over here on this side. We're talking about the acquisition side. And this is made up of a couple different parts. Number one, it's made up of basically your brand. Who are you talking to? And that's going to be the focus for today. How can you develop your target market? How can you develop your ICP? The next is going to be like, how do you provide gifts for them? How do you provide no barrier things that they can learn more about you? And we'll go deeper into that as the month goes on. How do you provide micro commitments, whether that is their information, whether that's their time, small amounts of money? How can they make small commitments towards you to make sure that, to test you out and see if they're the right fit? And then what are your actual core offers? And these are kind of the four big things that we're going to cover throughout the month of August to make sure that you have this entire acquisition side of your business buttoned up. So if we start this, there's a reason we always start here on the far left side. If you do not know who you're talking to, if you do not have the right market in place, none of this stuff matters. You cannot set up a core offer if you don't know who you're talking to. You can't set up micro commitments that they will, want to give up their information for if you don't know who you're talking to. And when we look at this, there's really three things we look at. Number one is the 3-ring prospect, really diving deep into the right type of person, not just, who it is, but really diving deep into their mindset. The second is the 5 Ps, and we'll kind of cover all this and go in depth with this. And the third is what I call the 3 what statements that help you stand out as a brand. But I think originally it's important to talk a little bit about like why it's so important to do this. You have to go after a market that you understand and that you like working with. And I can't stress that enough. I see coaches time and time again saying, well, I'm going to work with like stay-at-home moms because I heard that's easy to work with.
Right.
Do you relate to them? Right? Do you actually know their problems and understand them well?
Right.
Do you like working with them? Like
Well,
that's a big deal.
there's one thing I want to add one thing here too. And what I tell coaches a lot is like, what problem could you solve in your sleep?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, what's the thing you don't have to do any research for because you've done it over and over again? And maybe you went through it yourself. I think a lot of coaches get into coaching because they made a transformation themselves, and that can be really, really powerful. But it's like, what's the thing that you don't really have to do any research on that you could just go out and coach someone? If I was coaching someone, let's say that just that's going through menopause, right? Like I know the basics, I know some of the physiology, but I would have to dig into some textbooks to figure out like, all right, I need to know a little bit more about this, other specific contraindications or things that I want to stay away from. Like I could provide a good training experience, but I would have to do some research, right? Yeah. You give me an athlete, a high school athlete that wants to get bigger, stronger, faster. Like, all right, they show up, we do a little assessment. All right, let's go. Like I don't need to be digging into things. And so I think that's a way that you can look at it for you is like, all right, what problem can you solve in your sleep and what brings you a little bit of excitement where you want to go deeper into it because there are going to be layers to it. And to become a great coach, you have to go deep. And if you're not really interested or curious about the topic, like you're probably not going to put in the effort to become really great at it.
Yeah. And you're going to spend like, as a business owner, guess what? You're going to be spending 10 plus hours a day probably looking at this stuff.
Exactly.
It's not going to be less work. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I don't care if you're running a hot dog stand or you're running a software company. You're going to be putting in 10 hours a day, all your mental energy pick a better market,
Right.
right? Pick something that you like working with. Like back when I owned a gym, we worked with baby boomers a lot. Could I relate directly to them? No, I hadn't been through what they'd been through, but I had parents who were going through exactly what they're going through, and I was hearing things. I also really enjoyed and related to them very, very well. So I liked working with them. It was fun problem solving, different injuries and different things to help them move better and feel better. I could have gone after, 20-year-olds who want to lose weight in 4 weeks, but like that's not fun to me. That wasn't
Hmm.
enjoyable. And so like we pushed those people away and tried to attract the right market, even though we could have had an easier time selling those people, but it wasn't who I wanted to work with. So I think picking the right market of who you like working with, again, who you have things you can relate to, who you can actually solve their problems for easy and understand, that's a big deal. And so we're always looking at who is that right person, right? And we start with our three ring prospect. And our three ring prospect, number one, is what geographic restrictions are there? And I guarantee you somebody's going to be sitting there and saying, well, I'm an online coach. I don't have geographic restrictions. That's a lie. You do, right? You can't work with anybody anywhere. There's going to be language barriers. You're probably going to only work with English speaking people or English speaking countries. Generally speaking, you're probably going to attract more people from different types of cities or different types of regions as well. And so, really narrowing in on what are the actual geographic restrictions of your business for your ideal person, not just what's possible, but like your ideal person. Because, like Trevor, you live in Redwood Falls, Minnesota,
Right.
very different from somebody who lives in Chicago.
Right.
We're
And
going to have different.
I would argue too for the online coach. Yes, you're online, but you've just chosen that your business model is going to be virtual, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter if you're offline, online, it's still coaching. And so I would argue that if you're a new coach and you're trying to get traction, you're going to get traction faster in like old school offline marketing, shaking hands, giving talks, educating, like going out in your community. Because my guess is if you live in any kind of major metropolitan area, like you have more than enough people to create a really successful business, and just people that live within a 50-mile radius of you versus trying to go win the content game or trying to go win on the internet. Those are important, but that's a long game. It's not a I need clients right now game.
Yeah. We've always said from the beginning, treat your online business like an offline business,
Right.
right? Become the mayor of your town and you'll get more business. You might deliver the service remotely or virtually, but like
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't change anything else.
Correct.
So we start outer ring is going to be um, geographic restrictions. Once you kind of figure that out, the next one is the demographics, right? And this is where I think a lot of people kind of start is they think, okay, I work with females ages 40 to 50, or I work with males ages 25 to 35. This is important, but sometimes the demographics don't do everything, right? It might be you might work with a wider range or multiple genders. You might have to like really dial that in a little bit, which is why we always go geographics, demographics, and then the last one, which I think is the most important, is psychographics. What is their mindset? What are they thinking about? What status are they trying to achieve? Because whether we want to believe it or not, status is always part of this. As human beings, we are always chasing status. And so understanding what they're going through and what they want to achieve from this is more important than just the demographics of their income and their age and things like that. If you can understand their mindset and what they're actually looking for in a program or to make a change, your messaging is going to hit much, much more clear with them. And they're going to be more apt to believe that you're going to be the right fit for them to get their goals. So whenever we're looking at that, that's where you got to start. You got to start with your three-ring prospect, your geographics, your demographics, and your psychographics. And when you nail those three things, that is starting to get to kind of like your ideal client. That's who your three-ring prospect is. That when you're speaking, when you're creating content, when you're writing emails, when you're giving talks at local businesses, like that's who you want to be speaking towards. After we nail that down, and we're going to have a little tool to help you with that, we look at the 5 P's of your business. Again, trying to dial in your messaging and understand this better. So the 5 P's are going to be number one, problem. What problem do you solve for them? Number two, what is your product? Like, can you quickly describe what your product is in 1 or 2 sentences? Number three is what's your promise? At the end of the day, if they work with you, what do you promise that they're going to be able to achieve? Number 4 is what's the process? Everybody wants to know, well, what do I do? What's the next steps? How do I get started with you? If you don't have a clear process in place to be able to describe that to them, they're not going to be able to trust that you're the right one. And the 5th one, and one of the most important, is proof, right? Have you done this with other people like them? Because I can say how great I am over and over again, but until, like, if Trevor says how great I am to somebody else, that holds so much more weight than if I do it myself. And so making sure that in all of your marketing, in all of your content, everything else, we really dial in the 5 Ps. Can you clearly articulate your business to somebody with those 5 Ps in place? And if you can't, you kind of have to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate what you're doing and who you're working with, because it can't just be a generic, I help people lose weight. Every online coach says that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what makes you different? What makes you stand out? And so after we kind of dial in the 3-ring prospect, after we figure out your 5 Ps of your business, the last one that we look at is the 3 what statements. And again, this is just helping draw out things from you and your past experience, your kind of mindset and the way you think about business and the way you think about your online coaching. Is number 1, what do you stand for? Number 2, what do you stand against? Because sometimes it isn't always about what you do, it's what you stand against and kind of help push the wrong people away is just as important as drawing the right people in. And number 3, what are your flaws? Like, nobody's perfect. No business is perfect. No onboarding is perfect. No, everybody expects you to have some flaws. And the more you can talk about those and weave them into your story, they're going to realize that number 1, you're authentic. Number 2, you're a human being. And number 3, they might relate to you because they might share those same flaws. And so once you have those 3 what statements, your 5 Ps and your 3-ring prospect, that's when you actually have a full rounded out ICP. You understand exactly the market you're going after, you understand the person you're going after, and you can craft the rest of your messaging, the rest of your offers. Everything else in your business can revolve around those main 3 things.
Do you have any examples of flaws that you can think of, or of any maybe companies that people are aware of that maybe do a good job of leaning into some of that stuff?
I mean, we can talk about Coach Callis, Stephen. I know it doesn't
That's
relate
easy.
to online
Yeah.
coaching, but like Coach Callis, one of our flaws is, and this is, I mean, kind of a little bit on purpose, but like, we don't track data in workouts, right? We don't sit there and we don't graph all the historical data based on weights used and reps used and total volume and all that. That is technically, you could probably say, a flaw of the software. It's built by design though, because we found over the time that more data on that just confused people, right? It didn't actually help. Instead of giving coaches better decision making, it just kind of gave more inputs and more noise and didn't actually change the behavior and didn't actually help clients get better results.
Right.
What changed client results and behaviors was, did they do the workout, yes or no?
Right.
And so that is a flaw, you could say, in our system that is actually built by design in order to get people better results based on our experience. And so flaws can kind of go one of 2 ways. It's kind of one of those, those interview questions that are always, what's your weakness? And you turn it into a strength type of thing. Michael Scott has some great ones of those. If you go back to The Office. So it's kind of around that thinking of, yes, we want to talk and be vulnerable with our flaws, but there's a reason that you have it in your business, and explaining why it's a flaw is just as important.
And so one, I mean, just to try and give an example here for maybe some nutrition coaches, you may prescribe to kind of the habits piece, right? And you're kind of like maybe anti-macros, right? Macros could be the enemy for you, and it could also potentially be like a flaw. It's like, we don't count macros, right?
Yep.
And like some coaches will say, well, that's the only way you can get results. And like, hey, we've gotten results for these people without coaching macros. Whether it's right or wrong doesn't really matter, but it helps showcase how you're different and how your system, which also kind of weaves into like your process, right, on how you get people results. And for the person that doesn't want to track macros, or tracking macros just sounds like the worst thing in the world, they're going to be attracted to you,
Exactly.
right? But for the person that does want to track macros, they want to learn all about, they're going to be repelled from you. And so it's a little bit about kind of putting your flag in the sand of like, this is what we stand for, right? Versus, and this is what we're not doing. And so I think that maybe is an example for people that are in that nutrition world. But no matter what world you're in, like you can like put that flag in the sand and say like, here's what we're for, here's what we're against. And here's what we don't do. Maybe you think this is a flaw, but this is why we don't do it this way. And this is how we get our people results.
You always have to draw a line in the sand, and you always have to have an enemy. It doesn't have to be an actual physical enemy. It could even be quick fixes, right? We stand against quick fixes. We are fully against this whole, 2 weeks to lose 10 pounds type of attitude. That's not what we believe in as a company. That can be it. It can be an actual, other company or other brand if you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be that. It can just be a idea or something that's in the market a lot that you hear of a lot. But being controversial, taking a stand against something always helps, again, attract the right people, repel the wrong people. Just as important. So, we kind of understand a little bit about hopefully how to craft your market, right? How to get your three-ring prospect, how to actually develop your 5 Ps, and how to create your 3 what statements. You can go do this on your own, right? You can just take out a piece of paper and write it all down. What I have found over time is coaches don't do that. We constantly have been talking about this for years, and nobody's ever done that. So in Coach Catalyst fashion, we want to make it as easy as possible on coaches. We want to save time as much as we can. That's one of our core philosophies at Coach Catalyst is how can we save the coach time so we know you're busy. And so what we did is we developed a custom GPT. And I'll give you the link to this afterwards. But basically, this is called our Coach Brand Builder. And it's going to interview you. If you were part of our earlier one, the onboarding, workflow, it interviews you as a coach and it helps ask you questions about your business. And it goes for, somewhere between probably 12 and 20 questions. And the more information you can give it, the more context you can give it, the better. As with all AI stuff, it's all about context, right? AI is a intern that has a PhD in everything, but it doesn't understand your business until you tell it. So like if you hired an intern right now who was a PhD in everything, you'd think great, but it actually explain what your business does. They're not going to be useful for a while until they really get to understand it as best as possible. So think of all AI tools like that. How can you give it the context as quickly as possible and as thorough as possible? Because once it has the context, it's smart enough to do almost everything. So we have this Coach Brand Builder. Again, it's going to interview. All you got to do is go here, plus press start. And it's going to say, awesome, let's get into it. And it's going to ask you questions about these. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but again, the more you do with it, I think, Trevor, I don't know how much you've been diving into Whisperflow, but I use Whisperflow constantly for this stuff. It's basically just a dictation service. And so I click my little function key and I just talk. And it transcribes it perfectly. And so I don't sit here and type. And it helps me get information out as fast as possible. We'll put a link to that too for people who want to take a look. But answer these questions as best as you can. I won't go through all of them right now, but the very end, it's basically just going to help spit out what we just talked about. It's going to lay out your exact 3-ring prospect. It's going to lay out your 5 Ps as a framework. And that's going to lay out your 3 what statements. Like everything, it might not be perfect right away, but that's where you keep talking to it and tweaking it and thinking with it. And I think the more you can use AI as a thinking partner and not just a one-shot output, the better it's going to get and the better results you're going to get from it. And so I highly encourage you go through this, right? Start talking to it, start having an interview, start trying to draw out as much information as you can and feed it with as much as you can. And the more you feed to it, the better output you're going to get. And then hopefully that means you're going to have your nice, perfect 3-ring prospect, 5 P statements and 3 what statements that you can start using right away in your business.
I love it. So my camera went out, obviously, which is fun, especially when we're live. And Riverside won't let me pick a new camera. So I'm here with a blank screen. All right. So you probably want the custom GPT. So you're probably wondering how you get the custom GPT. So if you are watching this video, just comment below in the video and we will make sure that we get it sent over to you. We will have this kind of floating around everywhere in our ecosystem throughout the month. And so it'll be like in our Friday emails when we give away all of our free stuff on Friday. So you can click through there as well. Or you can just write into support. And it looks like Kane just dropped it in Riverside. For those of you guys that are listening on Riverside, you can grab it there. But the whole goal of this is to help you get clearer on who it is that you're serving. Because when you get clear, when you're super, super clear on who you're serving, right, everything downstream becomes easier, right? Lead magnets become easier, micro commitments become easier, offers become easier, right? Your content becomes easier because now you're speaking to a specific person who has specific problems, and you can solve those problems with content, right? And so if you're ever really struggling with some of these pieces, struggling with offers, struggling with content, you're probably not clear yet on who you're talking to. Because once you're clear on who you're talking to, everything downstream becomes really easy because you know exactly who they are, what problems they have, what struggles they have, where they live, like who their friends, like you know everything about them. You know them inside and out. And then it's just a matter of like helping that person, right? Through education, through content, through humor, through whatever means that you feel work for your personality. So do the thing, do the chat GP. Even if you think you know who your person is, I would say still go through it because it may give you an insight or an angle that you didn't think of that will allow life to just become a little bit easier, business to become a little bit easier.
And I think most coaches I talk to forget the psychographic piece. They forget the mindset piece because they think, oh yeah, I work with, women ages 40 to 50. That's not an actual market, right? That's so broad. But then we have other coaches who are like, I work with people who have had bariatric surgery and don't want to go back after, going through that. That's a much clearer market. You
Mm-hmm.
understand their mindset. You understand what they're going through. We have another coach who works with widowers, right?
Yeah.
Again, very specific market. And we know like you're not going to get too small of a market. Everybody's always afraid of niching down and, oh my gosh, I want to be able to work with everybody. No, you don't. Like niche down, get very, very specific because your messaging is going to be better. And the better messaging you have, people are going to believe you're the right fit and sign up with you.
Right.
They're not going to sign up with you if you're just another guy out there, another woman out there saying, look at me, I'm a fitness coach, come lose weight with me. Like it
Right.
just doesn't work.
Yeah, and one other example too, which is always kind of fun, and I use this one a lot, is we have one coach who works with moms who only have girls, right? So not moms that have boys, only moms that have girls, right? Because there's specific things that girl moms go through that boy moms don't go through, type of stuff. And so when you're working on the internet, right? Remember, like the ocean is huge. It is everyone really who has a connection to the internet and that probably speaks your language. So the market is massive. And so you can go really, really narrow and still have, my guess is if you had 40 people that were paying you, let's say $500 a month, right? Like that's a really nice online business, right? That's a really nice business that someone could handle, maybe with an assistant coach or depending on your systems, maybe just solo, right? And so like you can find 40 people that are really into really random, niche down, super specific things. So don't be afraid to get really, really narrow as long as you can get narrow as well. Like you're in that world, you're passionate about that world because every narrow niche has these weird idiosyncrasies. You got to be able to like speak the language. You kind of have to be in the group. And so if you are in that group, like you can have a lot of success. One that just came to mind for me is the nerd fitness person, like blew up massively, right? Massively. And there's all these like superheroes and like they spoke to like the quote unquote nerd community who probably was kind of like pushed away from the fitness industry or kind of looked over in the fitness industry because they were probably the kids that, failed out of PE class or didn't enjoy PE class and these kind of things. But the creator of that was able to speak to that group of people, probably because he was or she was that person, right? And could just help that group then become more active and live healthier lifestyles and all of those things. So, so I don't be afraid of some of these really, really specific niches.
Yeah, we don't need thousands of clients.
No, that's the thing.
I think that's like everybody's always thinking, I need more. You don't. I mean, honestly, most online coaches don't even need hundreds of clients. Like we're talking about between 30 and 50 is a really good business.
Correct.
And you can niche down really, really narrow, really, really small, and still have a huge pool of people to be able to get 30 to 50 clients.
Yeah, 100%. So cool. Well, if you want the chat GPT, just hit comment GPT in the comments on Facebook, on YouTube. We'll make sure you get the link. In Riverside, it's already up there. So if you're watching there, you can just click through it, and then it will be plastered all over everywhere for the next month. So pick it up anywhere, and definitely ask questions along the way. So Kane, any final words?
No, I mean, do the work, right? We always sit there and we give resources and we give advice to people, and they always say, "Oh yeah, like I know." Like I know are some of the two most dangerous words. I guess
Right.
clients tell you that all the time, right? You might know, but you're not actually putting in the work to do it. So like, just go through the exercise. Again, like Trevor said, even if you think you know who your ideal client is, this might help clarify a few things, or it might bring out things you didn't think about in the past. And so go through the exercise, see the output, keep talking to it, keep tweaking it, keep going through it and refining it until you end up with an output that you are really, really happy with. And then actually use that in your marketing and use that in your business.
I love it. This month, all about attention, all about attraction, helping you grow your audience and then moving that audience into working with you. So show up to the lives, read the emails, share stuff with friends. If you had a lot of success with the GPT and it worked well for you, share it with a couple colleagues, share it with a couple other people that could be helpful as well. David asked, did this get recorded? Yes. So this will be inside of the Facebook group. And then I put out links throughout the week to the Vimeo videos once this all gets uploaded. So it'll all be there as well. So thank you guys for hanging out. We'll be back here again next Tuesday. We'll see you later.
Awesome. See you guys.
Bye.